Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Philly Sports Trips. Travel with the pros. If you're a diehard Philly fan who's looking for some great Philly sports road trips, it's time to check out the full trip lineup at phillysportstrips.com. The schedule is out. We now know where the Eagles, where and when they'll be playing. We knew where, now we know when. Adam Caplan will take a unique little dive into the schedule, all the nuggets, the ins and outs of where they're going, why, when, and how it was all put together here on Football at 4 on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Adam, I'm having a litting trouble. There we go. Let's get the coming up next screen down, but I see you and I hear you. So the schedule is out. We know where they're going. They're heading to Detroit to start things off, and we'll take a look here. But you can't ask for a much better stop on the road. They got some interesting road spots where they don't have to play a lot of playoff teams on the road.
Yeah, Mike, I study these schedules, and starts the schedule to me is. I always tell people the same thing every year. It has very little to do with last season. It's about what the teams look like now. I'll certainly mention if a team made the playoffs or not last year. You should mention that. But the fact of the matter is, it's what does the team look like right now, okay? Through coaching changes and personnel changes. That's what the team looks like now. No team ever stays the same. That's why you could junk last year. It's what the team looks like now based on all the changes from last season. So if you really look at the Eagles' schedule, Mike, it's one of the better schedules. I spent about 3 hours this morning going through every NFL schedule. I found some quirks, some funny stuff. Some people sent some stuff to me. Look at how great the Eagles' schedule is. First of all, this is a great nugget when I went through their schedule. They only play one game in the West Coast time zone, 2 in the Central, none in the Mountain time. And those games are at Dallas Central, at Houston Central, at Arizona West Coast time. Okay. And they were at Arizona 2 years ago. That was the Hurts game. We actually played pretty well. So they've got, and if you just look at their schedule, Mike, you talk about the Lions. The Eagles absolutely annihilated the Lions last year. Now, you have to understand about the Lions. Their receiver core is much better now. This is how it's changed. They've added significant pieces on defense and at wide receiver. They have the NFL's worst receiver core last season. They're much better. When you look at week 2, the Eagles' first game is at home. The first home game is against the Vikings on Monday Night Football. The Vikings have completely changed their team on offensive defense. New coaching staff, new schemes in offensive defense. They're going to run a 34 defense for the first time in several decades. When you're going to change over a defense, it takes time. It's highly unlikely they're going to have a dominant defense in week 2. That's a good time to replace them, or to face them. When you look at the Eagles, Mike, in the first 4 weeks, show me a good football team. At Lions, Vikings, both non-playoff teams. In fact, all four games, non-playoff teams last year. And by the way, I don't think these teams are that much better than the Jaguars. Oh boy, the Eagles faced Doug Peterson and Philly. The roster's better than last year, but they're not going to the playoffs. So you're right. This is a great start for them.
Yeah, they get a good start to the season, that first quarter anyway of the season there. And obviously, as you mentioned here, you take a look at you mentioned they got one of the best travel schedules. I mean, they really don't have to travel all that far. I think you look at a team like Seattle, who's going like 30,000 miles. Philadelphia does not have that. I also see they not have to play back-to-back road games through the first 13 weeks of the season. So they're not having to do 2 straight weeks on the road. Now, they do have a 3-game road trip later on in the season, but they don't have to do a lot of traveling those first, up all the way through the month of really December.
Yeah, it's actually cool. So I look at streaks for teams about how many times they're away, 3 out of 4 and all this stuff. The first 2 out of the first 3 games are away, 3 out of the first 5. And then they got a run of 3 out of 4 at home, weeks 4, 5, and 8. Then, as you said, weeks 14 through 16 away. But they won't play consecutive road games through the first 13 weeks of the season, which is crazy. And if you just look at their schedule, right, this is the way I see these games, just very quickly here. The only really good team that they face in the first half, now, when I say really good, let me preface this. The Cardinals, Eagles are going to face the Cardinals without DeAndre Hopkins. So that changed it. So they're not going to be as good. The only team that I say, okay, they were a playoff team last season. I think they have a chance to be good, but I don't think they're going to be the 10.5 wins that Vegas predicts them to be. They face a Cowboys team. They face them in Philly, week 16. Week 6. Okay, that's a good team. They're not a great team. But if you really look at it, the entire season, okay, they're at the Colts on November 20th. Decent team, not great. Matt Ryan, we'll see if they could be a playoff team with Matt Ryan. They've never beaten Aaron Rodgers. Okay, after they play the Colts, that's a tough game. Derrick Henry comes in on December 4th. Guess what? A.J. Brown's playing on the other side. The Titans are not good at wide receiver. They play the Cowboys, week 16. That's it, man. This is a great schedule based on where the teams are now.
Yeah, I know. You take a look also as we look at. They got back-to-back home games. That hasn't happened in a while to close out the year. So even late, if you need a chance to win, you're going to get 2 home games at the end of the schedule here. So that's, they do have those 3 straight road games. But you look at the road games, of the teams they're playing on the road, other than Dallas, I don't think anybody made the playoffs last year. Arizona.
Mike, 11 of the team, again, you just take it for what it is because it doesn't mean a whole lot because teams change by personnel. But 11 of the 17 games, those teams did not make the playoffs last season. Just take it for what it is. We know that the teams have changed their rosters, but it's still, you got to make the point. And it's just, I study this stuff pretty religiously. I know rosters pretty well. I look at the team's rosters where I go, oh boy, that might be a tough matchup. Dallas potentially again, Colts potentially. Packers because it's Aaron Rodgers, but they're weak at certain spots on offense. They have very good defense. Titans have a good defense. Giants have completely new schemes on offensive defense. Bears are mediocre. Saints are mediocre. Jameis Winston's coming off a torn ACL. If you just look at the teams, right, that they avoided, they're not playing the Rams. Okay? They're not playing the Rams. They're not playing the Bucks. They're not playing the Niners, who are a very good team, very underrated.
Good point.
They're not playing the Ravens, who I think are going to bounce back. They're not playing the Broncos with Russell Wilson, who's been a nemesis of theirs. They're not playing the Chargers, who smoked them in Philly.
Kansas City last year.
Kansas, right. It's Mike, it's unbelievable. If you just look at all 32 teams the way that they look right now, they've avoided all the landmines.
Well,
this has got to be one of the best schedules they've ever had on paper.
And we saw NFL.com put out that graphic yesterday. Adam, I think it was yesterday, or maybe the day before, of the entire NFC East has the 4 weakest schedules according to winning percentage. Washington and Dallas have the easiest by winning percentage. Philadelphia's next, and then the Giants. So the NFC East, they all are playing because they are matched up with the AFC South, and they are also matched up with the NFC North. So, by proxy, they all are playing each other as well. They all have, quote-unquote, the 4 easiest schedules in the NFL based on last year's records.
Right. Again, it is last year, so it doesn't mean a whole lot because teams change. But some of these teams, when you look at it, they're still going to be bad. Jacksonville's still going to be bad. Now, could they be a 6 or 7 win team? Maybe so. But it's still not good. The only teams I project by my strength of schedule, I do it differently than because I don't look much at last year. I look at what the teams look like now. The only teams I have that should be playoff teams that are playing the Eagles, Cowboys should be, at least a wild card. If the Eagles don't, if the Eagles win the division, they should be a wild card. Tennessee, I still think will be a wild card. They may not be as good, but remember, they were the number 1 seed in the AFC. Packers, they've got Aaron Rodgers. They'll be a playoff team. Should they win the division? The NFC North, yeah, they're the best team there, but that's it, man. Colts, okay. They're we'll see how Matt. They didn't make the playoffs this year. We'll see if Matt Ryan's an upgrade over Carson Wentz. But there are no games that scare me. Like if I'm an Eagles fan, and here's another thing, I cannot believe they got 5 primetime games. I would love to talk to the NFL and know what they were thinking there. I'm not saying the Eagles don't deserve it, but you got to say that's a surprise. I wasn't thinking. I know the Eagles are somewhat of a national team. But wow, teams just simply don't get 5 primetime games unless you're the Cowboys, who I think, if I'm not mistaken, only got 4. I'm going to double check this, but I think they only got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. They only got 4.
All right, well, Philadelphia has 5, as you mentioned. They're going to play one on Monday night at home. That's their home opener. They will play a Sunday night game against Dallas. They will have a Thursday night game, and the Thursday night short week but you kind of luck out because it's on the road against Houston, who should probably not be a very good team. The very next week, you're going to play Thursday night and then Monday night, and then 2 weeks later, you're right back on Sunday night. So 3 out of 4 games are going to be primetime, but 5 times, and I'm wondering if that indicates that maybe people think this team might be pretty good.
Well, they did make the playoffs. We could all argue how easy their schedule was in the second half of the season, but the fact of the matter is they did make the playoffs. They made the A.J. Brown trade. They're going to be better than last year, okay? They're better. The roster's better. There's no way to say
even right now, with they need some help still.
Yes.
Aren't they significantly better than the team that left the field in Tampa?
My only issue, I won't say significantly, because they're so bad at corner opposite Slay. They're not going anywhere in the playoffs until they, like, if it's James Bradbury, I know they have interest. We reported this on Inside the Birds on Thursday, but they like every NFL team, they put a budget. They have a number that they would spend on them. If they don't get Bradbury, we know that the season starts in September. I know this is what teams will tell you, but they cannot line up for the season without another corner. In fact, they really need 2 outside corners. I know they want to look at all these young corners, but at the very least, they got to get a legitimate outside corner opposite Slay, and they don't have one right now.
Let's, real quick, we're talking with Adam Caplan, football at 4. As you mentioned, the national audience 5 times. You get the Eagles-Cowboys, 2 on a Christmas Eve game. So all those games from Sunday, they're getting moved to Saturday for the week. They also play January 1st. It'll be very interesting to see the Saints fans go face-to-face with the Mummers. That could be like the Spider-Man meme pointing at each other.
Yeah,
there,
yeah, that is funny. And the Eagles they finish the season at home against the Saints and the Giants, and then before that they have the 3 road games. And you know what the craziest thing is? This schedule, Mike, and I understand because you have 17 games. There's some very strange quirks, but this is crazy. The Giants only have 1 road game in the first 6 weeks. Now, technically, they have one of those 6 games is in England. But, again, they're only on the road technically for once in the 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, and this thing bothers me. This I saw this morning, and I know people have written about it who cover the Steelers. How the hell do the Steelers only get – I'm sorry, the Steelers don't have any games outside the East Coast time zone. I mean, how does that happen? It's a major advantage.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Pittsburgh travels the least this year.
Yes.
And Seattle's got to travel 30,000 miles. Now, I get it. Most of their road trips are far, but 30,000 miles is just unbelievable.
And time zones. Yeah, that sucks. The Lions, they don't have a primetime game, and you know what? They don't deserve one. Panthers play 4 out of their first 5 games at home, and the thing under Matt Rule is they started very well the last 2 seasons, and they got killed by injury. But the other problem is they don't have a very good quarterback right now.
All right, you mentioned Bradbury. What do we know about that situation? A lot of people, he gets released, and they need a corner, so there's an obvious potential fit there.
Yeah, teams think like he's asking for a lot of money, and look, he's the top free agent corner out there, and I know he was released. The Giants wanted no part of him. They never asked to restructure his deal. The Giants felt they had a trade partner. It was reported by one of the beat reporters. I can't remember which guy it was. One of the papers that the Texans, they had a trade worked out with the Texans, but he would not. They couldn't reach his contract with revised contract with Bradbury and his agent, or agents. He actually has 2. So that tells you obviously wants good money. He only turns 29 in August, which means he's 29 in NFL years. He's his own corner who's not comfortable in man. That's how he played majority of his career with Carolina. And we know the Eagles are going to mix up their coverages, which they did a lot in the second half. The Eagles led the NFL in man and zone coverage for the first half of the season, and they started to play more man. So fact of the matter is, after Bradbury, is a major drop off. Now there are guys who are younger than Steven Nelson, who now is with the Texans, who signed for about $5 million for a season. The fact of the matter is, Eagles have to do something. They know this. It's not a secret. My mom knows this, and they will do something by training camp. I couldn't tell you what it is because they don't know yet. They're working on it. They have a list of players, and the thing is, it's deeper than the safety group, Mike, that's out there. The safety group's only 4 or 5 deep. The corner group is 10 to 12 deep, but there's a drop off after Bradbury.
All right, Eagles and Ravens. There's been some whispers about a trade that might have been brought up during the draft that might have made sense for the Eagles more than the Ravens, I guess, if you're an Eagles fan, and probably for the Ravens it makes more sense. But where is that potentially at right now?
Yeah, my bad on the that someone just pointed out. I forgot. That was the Craig James game. Good call by the listeners. Listen, appreciate that. They did beat Rodgers. I'm sorry. They haven't beaten Russell Wilson. I'm sorry. So, so we reported yesterday. I guess it's such an innocuous information, but people, as they tend to do, blow stuff up. So here are our scoops that we put on the show yesterday, exclusively on Inside the Birds was. Now it's that I'll I could clear it. I could just explain it. It's very simple. The Ravens were shopping Chuck Clark, who's one of their starting safeties, because they added two significant pieces. Marcus Williams for $14 million a year and Kyle Hamilton. So Chuck Clark has started his last game for the Ravens. I think we all know this. So they've been trying to move him. They're still trying to move him, as I understand it. And they talked to the Eagles about him. But I was told, actually, I think day after the draft, that the Eagles were not interested in him at that point. Then, now, could it change? I couldn't tell you. He's not making a lot of money. His base salaries, which have no guaranteed money left, are very reasonable. But they weren't interested then. And then also, the Ravens asked about Rager. They just wanted to see where the Eagles were with him. No offers were made, and that was it. It really was very quick. So nothing earth-shattering here, but people try to blow the thing up, and it was really not a big deal.
It's because the people don't like Rager, and I guess it's like, somebody was willing to give you something you need for Rager, and you're not interested? How dare you?
No, it again, the Ravens didn't make an offer, so that it was just they inquired, and that was that. They discussed stuff, but nothing came close to happening. That's it. So I try to warn people, don't go crazy with this stuff. But my Moshe and I were playing golf yesterday, and my notifications, I think I got over 2,000 yesterday. It's fine. I get it. I have to tell you, I got a kick out of it. And these dueling, what we call them Twitter news aggregators. It's the craziest thing. Like they were going back and forth with each other. I actually got a kick out of it. I don't respond to anything on Twitter anymore. So I just kind of look at it and stuff, and I kind of get a chuckle. It's actually good. We got a ton of publicity for Inside the Birds, so we appreciate it.
Now, was that Aaron Rodgers game? Was that a Thursday night game that they beat him?
Yeah, we actually, Moshe and I did a remote.
In Green Bay, I think it was, right?
One of the venues. It was either Sunday night or definitely a night game.
I think it was a Thursday night game in Green Bay. I think they beat.
Remember now, that was the Craig James time when he made that. Weren't they looking for Jones, the corner, and they couldn't find him, so they put in Craig James. Remember that one?
Yeah, and that was 2019. That was a game that they were not favored to win. They ended up winning that game. It was one of the games that kind of springboarded them to make the playoffs.
Oh yeah. By the way, I got it. Yes, I got to run in a minute. But one more thing I want to tell you: we must have had a half a dozen people to listen to our segment on your show, Mike. It was actually kind of cool playing golf yesterday. We got kind of laugh out. It was really, really cool.
Well, where'd you hit him? How'd you hit him?
Terrible for the first half. Jeff hit really well, man. It doesn't look like it's he has this draw, and he says he purposely does it, so I have to take his word on it, but he has a draw on his shot. It looks like he's going to go way left, though he had a bunch that went way left, but man, his draw, when it goes left sometimes, it just curves. And you know how we played at Cape May? It was so windy. Now, what I did is I had trouble. I had trouble keeping my head down.
Yeah.
And that's why I scuffed it. But the second, the back nine, I started to get the ball up in the air and I had some good shots. But the problem is the wind. Dude,
I played Monday,
20 miles an hour.
I played Monday at Seaview. The wind was like 40 miles an hour.
What are you doing, man?
It was the LPGA Media Day. So I'm out there playing for that.
Right.
But it was probably the best round of golf I've ever played in my life. I hit a chip shot.
One guy took a shot at Gil. I got to say.
Oh.
Guy loves you, but he goes, the guy said he's playing golf. He says you stink. So.
I'm terrible. I am horrendous.
So am I. So I'm a tennis guy, man. I got 2 matches this weekend. So
I said, this is the first round of golf that I could play that I can say that I wasn't bleeping bad. I was just bad.
Oh, good. Well, you know what? That's a start, and congratulations on that.
I hit a chip shot from 25 yards out, bounced once on the green, right into the cup.
Nice, dude.
I should have gone out like Costanza, gone out on a high note.
Right, exactly.
All right, Adam Caplan, Football at 4 on this Friday edition here on the schedule release yesterday. Adam, have a good one, pal.
You got it. Thanks.
All right, a lot of people down playing golf at Cape May apparently yesterday. Yes, I have no shame about saying that I stink at golf. I'm terrible. I would never sit here and lie about that.